Hello, everyone. Today I'm very happy to welcome a filmmaker, Tony Savo. He has a new short film made completely using AI. I think in not only in images and video, but also in music. It is called The Shape of Things, and the director is Tony Savo. I feel that the film itself, like mentioned, it's a cinematic blueprint for what's next. And when I saw the press release, and it interested me a lot because I'm also, with my background in engineering and communication, I'm interested in AI cinema. So let's welcome Tony today and check out his film and discuss it with him. How are you, Tony? Everything is
I'm doing
fine?
well. Yeah, thank you for the invite. I appreciate your time and appreciate the platform. It's a great honor. Pleasure to be here.
Pleasure is mine as well. First, before we speak about shape of things to come, I would like to know a little bit about your background because I read it also you have musical background and also you're venturing producing and writing and directing and already about your company in Sacramento. So let's trace a little bit your background first.
Oh, sure. Yeah, real humble beginnings. Kind of started at the ground level, and when I was about 18, 19, because I was got in, heading to the workforce. I was basically like a day laborer. And that was during the 90s when there was a big before the crash in '08. So there was a lot of construction going on in my area, Northern California, specifically Sacramento. And I was a day laborer, and so I started learning and working with people that you would meet in that kind of field. And I was always passionate about music, and got to a point where we had, there was like the music business pre-internet and then after the internet. So when I was first kind of thinking about music and making my demo tape and all that stuff, there was no internet. And so when the internet came along, and I was making some money and was able to put together a band, and I was one of the first people actually on Twitter to see the value in social media and how it gave you access to people that you normally wouldn't have access to, geographically and network wise and in every regard. So um, I used Twitter to launch the band, and we started making custom walkout songs for guys in the UFC and some other organizations around the world. And at that time, the UFC, MMA in general, wasn't even legalized in all 50 states. So there was a lot of pushback on, like, just kind of being on the fringe of this emerging industry and things of that nature, and watching the internet and social media kind of like feed into it, and helping it get off the ground, the fight business and the UFC and so forth. And then like most bands, well, we got invited to the UK. We toured in the UK. We did some cool stuff, made some great connections, some great friends, and had some great achievements, and so on and so forth. Had a video game deal with Kung Fu Factory for their Supremacy MMA video game, and yeah, just a bunch of cool stuff. But like, we were a band, and so like whenever you're working with a bunch of creatives, you got everyone's feelings and egos involved, and so it's just a matter of time before you know uh people see things differently, or people feel like they're not being valued or whatnot. So just life happening for young guys. We came back to the States, and the band dissipated, and I tried to keep it around a little bit longer, just by doing endorsements, deals, and stuff like that. At that time, again, the technology, I wasn't exposed to technology apart from just social media. That was like the most of it. I'm an '80s kid, so I knew about gadgets and electronics and video games and stuff like that. But things like deep learning and neural networks and large language models were completely like, yeah, different planets to me. I didn't know anything about that. And yeah, so just I had the idea of turning the band into a brand. And when we turned the band into a brand, we had a logo, and then when the fighters would walk out, they would wear our logo on their shorts and this and that. So years later, I found out that that our logo had been infringed. This was after the band was already dissipated by a $6 billion retailer, and they had disclosed in discovery that they had already sold $2 million worth of units. And so I I had the copyright, but I didn't have the trademark. So getting compensated for stuff like that is kind of tricky, depending on the precedent and the judge and the this and that. So I walked away kind of really destroyed about it, and discouraged with music and branding and the whole game and all that kind of stuff. And but I was encouraged that it was successful. That we were a garage band, and we went to the UK, and then we got a video game deal, and then our idea was good enough for a major retailer to run with and make money with. And so I kind of knew in the back of my mind that I kind of knew I had an eye for the good stuff, but I was just in the wrong market or wrong direction, I guess. So I started freelancing, kind of went back to my roots when the music was complete, and started freelancing as a gig worker in the gig-based economy. Being based in Sacramento, we have limited range of events for our season. So we got like the summertime where we got a couple events, but that's about it. And just when I stumbled into the lane, I did it off of Craigslist ads. Actually, I was just looking for, well, before I got into the tech industry as a gig worker, I was like a Craigslist mechanic and handyman and that kind of thing. And then one day I just went into the events page, and checked it out, and that's how I stumbled into the business. And then I got out there, and I wanted to work more, and I found all the work was in the Bay Area, with the tech firms, Google and Facebook and Amazon, Apple, Salesforce. And so they had events all the time, continually. It was really great rates, and so I just went out there. And for me, it was just a job. I didn't know anything about anything. One of the first gigs that I learned, that I landed was Singularity University in Silicon Valley. So at that time, they were at Moffett Park. Specifically, I was working on their GSP program, helping them being a mic runner, right? So I would be there for their presentations. I'd be the guy, listening to the presentation with the microphone when the CEOs and executives are being trained in exponential theory. And then sooner, eventually what happened, I didn't know anything. They were speaking a foreign language to me. And I didn't understand anything about it. And I was still kind of in a funk about, my music dream kind of falling apart. And I just started paying attention. I started kind of just hearing what they were talking about, and it made sense. And one of the cool things that they would do at Singularity University is they would have an artist map out, like drawing in real time, whatever the speaker was talking about. And he would make like a chart with all the, with the icons and sound bites and stuff. So it was like you're getting this really extensive education program, and that very few people have access to. And just being the access I had as a service worker, I was getting, like, I didn't have to pay to be there. I was getting paid to be there and to get trained up and to learn about tech. And then from there, I went on to Google and Facebook, and working events for them, and getting familiar with them, and seeing everything roll out, from the cloud to Web3 to uh, you know, uh, 5 gigs data being rolled out, and things of that nature. So that's the short version, I suppose.
Great, great, Tony. What was the name of the band? You didn't mention it.
So it was Coalition Fight Music. We used the abbreviation CFM, Coalition Fight Music, and
CFM.
yeah, CFM, and yeah,
And you
we
were
were able to
singing.
accomplish some cool stuff. Yeah, I was
You,
singing,
you,
producing,
you were the lead
vocalist.
voice. You
You
were
were
the
the
vocalist.
Yeah, I was
Mm.
one of the vocalists, and there were 2 other
One
vocalists,
of
and then we had other
yeah,
people that we worked with too. Yeah, so it was a coalition,
yeah.
like a whole different kind of ensemble.
Yes, yes. What you mentioned So like a lot of course with me because I was born 1971 and music for me was cassettes and then CD. And also first when I in Egypt, when I had the internet, it was only where I worked, and you know it was not fast, it was very slow. You used to
Mm,
connect, you hear like a fax modem,
the
you know, to
dial-up,
connect,
yeah, yeah,
if you remember the dial-up. And
yeah.
also I remember about artificial intelligence. I used to have electronics professor, and when he talked about artificial intelligence in the late 80s and 90s when I was a student, you know, he was saying that it was a subject that was overblown, and scientists had many anticipation for artificial intelligence, but they have not achieved, you know, what they were looking for, you know, at the time. It was in a lecture
Hmm.
when I was studying. And, you know, this statement stayed with me until now when 2 years ago, ChatGPT started, and of course, if you have seen movies, especially in the early '70s, science fiction, you know the idea about artificial intelligence or robots taking over, you know, human or chasing human. If you have seen the original Westworld, the movie, you know, with James Brolin, that was made later on as a series, you know, it was about
Hmm.
that, you know, about. Robots taking over human beings, or you know, revolting against their creator.
Hmm.
And when you told me right now about your story, and I feel that Shape of Things to Come has a lot of autobiographical elements from your life, attending these conferences, and especially when I've seen it today before I talk to you, it reminded me as well of, you know, classic detective and film noirs when, you know, everything is, you know, narrated from the point of view of the star, or the actor or the main protagonist, you know, or the detective. You know, he's narrating to us his mind, his feelings, what's going on. So tell me about the film. Uh, After you started to study yourself and attending and enriching your knowledge, what drove you to write these films, and how did you manage to animate it and have the music and also the narration and everything, the technical aspect and the artistic aspect of everything?
It was a perfect storm. It was like a perfect storm, a perfect storm. When the music fell apart, I kind of wanted to get back in and do something. Um, and so I got in, you know, part of oh, sorry, someone's part of what part of what I wanted to do as well, getting into the Silicon Valley thing, was understand the internet better and what how it helped uh, move music and film and connect with people and things of that nature, and how to present it online and things of that nature. So basically, I launched a brand called Sacktown Famous, and we were basically giving a platform to local artists who hadn't, were looking to perform on stage. So I'd find acts that were smaller, and then they hadn't had a chance to do a first show, but maybe they had a SoundCloud or they had a Reverb Nation, something like that. And then I would reach out to them, and and then we had this. I had a logo for Sacktown Famous, and we kind of just pushed that. And then being out here in Silicon Valley and seeing how things are moving and where things are shifting, I feel like everything is based towards content, right? So like with this technology, and then with some of the ramifications of the technology being, for example, we hear a lot about abundance. The people who are leading us down this path are sure that there's lots of abundance down here, and basically we'll have a lot more time on our hands to create, right, and to find meaning and stuff like that. And so, and when if that happens, and if that takes course, then we're going to be consuming more content. And so brands, and just me kind of working out the algorithm, seeing where the ball is going, is is at the end of the day, brands are going to me, the future of branding is going to be companies using IPs, intellectual properties. So you got like Google or Facebook or Disney or Chevron or Adidas or whatever, essentially making their own universes with their own characters, and then putting product placement for their products and services in those stories and exploits and characters and stuff like that. And then being able just to, like, if you're watching a movie and you see those shoes and you like those shoes, you can just pause and click on the shoes and add them to your cart, and it's all intuitive. And and so that was one aspect of it, is knowing that, and then saying, okay, well, I want to run with this data that I've been exposed to, and I want to implement it, and I want to execute it. So to me, the logical conclusion was I needed to make a film to promote the brand, right? Like to put my money where my mouth was, and to demonstrate my understanding of the situation. So that was the idea, to say I need to make a film. I had already been experimenting with the technology. I was emerging with Midjourney and Runway ML, and some. I was really blown away by Stable Diffusion when that came out, right in 2020. Like, so there was an artist out of Ukraine, right when the whole thing popped off over there, who was doing amazing work with Stable Diffusion. I thought it was groundbreaking work, and I just had never seen anything like that, and I wanted to do that. I saw it and I said, I want it. I want to do that. I think that'd be great. And obviously, I didn't have the technical understanding of, like, the how to run that locally, and all that kind of stuff. I thought it was an app, and or a program I could just download and get that same effect. But the cool thing about technology, it's always changing. It's always gaining momentum. And then so when I was able to start, I started making little mini content, like these little commercials to promote Sacktown Famous. So I was promoting the Sacramento Tower Bridge, which is the landmark here in Sacramento. I was making these animated films with all different kinds of themes, and just trying to showcase the city, use the technology to showcase the city, and also use the city to demonstrate the technology. So it was twofold. And I started, this content was 15 to 30 seconds. I found that there's different variations, like people's attention span for new and cool stuff was typically 8 to 15 seconds. So I would keep it short. If there was a song that was attached audio that they were listening to the words, I could get away with 30 seconds to 45 seconds. But as an artist, and as a musician, a musician is a storyteller in many regards. As an artist and wanting to tell a story in a video format, or in visually, I I thought about, what story would I tell? Well, what was easy for me to talk about? Obviously, stuff that I know about, um, discovering this new hidden world of tech, and just how it works and who the players are, the technologies that are around, the mentalities. One thing I'd like to point out for everyone, or for you as well, as you said you're a musician. As musician and traditional artists, I feel like the creative process has an artistic approach to it, right? So if you are a musician, you hear a melody in your head, or you have a song, or you have a chorus in your heart, in your mind, that you want to bring forward. Um, when you set out to do that, you endeavor to do that. If it doesn't come out exactly 100% the way you like it, you almost like want to burn it down, right? You're like, that's not what I'm going for. No, that's not the idea I had. No, that's not what it sounds like in my mind. It sounds different, or I hear it different, or I see it different, and it gets really frustrating. And you just, I myself know how much work I've thrown away just because of that principle, right? And so when I went out to Silicon Valley and I seen how the engineers build, and they take a totally different approach, philosophically, to what they build. They know the first version is going to be lackluster. They're not planning to buy the farm with the first version. They simply make the first version so that they have something to they'll make a robot, and then it's not, it doesn't do this, doesn't do that, but they'll assign a team to the hands, they'll assign a team to the sensors, they'll assign a team to the to the feet, and then version 2.0, we're pretty close. We're not there, we're 80-90%. And then by version 3.0, you see Chat GPT-3, right? GPT-3 um, is kind of like a great example. GTA 3, the video game, just in general, just these patterns that emerge, that we see with human innovation and artistic expression. So when I set out to do this thing, uh, the first thing I determined to do when I was making the film was said, I'm going to take an engineer approach to this. I'm not going to take an artistic approach. I'm going to take an engineer. I'm going to build it like an engineer. I'm going to just I'm going to just build out the scenes the way I see them, and or the best I can. And I know, like, that was another frustrating part. By the time when I started, there was very few. There wasn't Sora. There wasn't a lot of the large scale engines, LLM based engines that you see now. That was very limited. And every other week, I'd hear a press release about a new technology, and this, they're in a competition, obviously. So this, now you can do camera movement. Now you can edit in picture. Now you can do all these cool and wonderful things. And so there was a little bit of a distraction in that, like, just say, no, stay focused on the task. I started with Dream Machine. I really like Dream Machine, just because I like the aesthetic, and I saw them as like the head of the curve, on in that lane. And uh, and there's some dream stuff, sequences and premonitions and visions and stuff relating to the story. So I thought it all kind of um, tied into everything nice and neat. And that was the idea, was just start with something I know, use the technology. Don't worry if it's not 100%. Don't worry if it's not, Scorsese or Spielberg. Of course, it's not going to be. You're making a movie on a film, on a mobile phone. At the end of the day, and I think honestly, like, on a side note, our human tradition of storytelling, it transcends, like, it's like primitive. It's hardwired into us. That's how we get all of our data. When we're growing and developing pre-internet, is we'd have the elders who would communicate stories of, like, our values and our experiences, and our ups and downs, and things to look out for, our guardrails, and this and that. And so I just felt like it was using the technology to tell that story was just a natural progression. But I didn't want to use AI for the story. I just wanted to use AI to show what you could do for the visuals, right? Because I believe the essence of the story is the human element of the storyteller, right? And so I did, like, I try to use every technique that I've observed. Film noir, being a cinephile myself, growing up watching everything you can imagine, all the greats, and by directors, by actors, by timelines, by periods, by, I love international films, Japanese film, the French New Wave cinema, all of those things. Before I even got into tech, I'd already been exposed to that rich, vast content and those ideas. And so just, yeah, using the tech to bring that and tie it all together. I wanted to use the tech to complement the human aspect of storytelling, and so that's where I went. And you said, we're pretty close in age. I was born in '79, but I remember when I was a kid, we had a thing called Viewmaster, right? It was like an orange goggle thing that you'd put on, and it was a little disc with negative prints around it, and you would grab the disc and put it in the Viewmaster, and then you would look up at the sun or whatever, and you could see the pictures, and you would put in headphones and play a little cassette, and it would, like, audio walk you through what you're looking at. So it'd be like, and Luke Skywalker meets, Darth Vader, click, and then you click, and then you would see, their interaction. And so uh, I thought, like, as a kid, that worked for me just fine. And here we are, as a more mature grown up kid. I have access to something to do that, but I can animate those pictures with the audio. So those were just some of the kind of the ideas and concepts that I had, and what motivated me and helped me to execute that.
Great. So tell me, Tony, what did you do after you finished the film and tried to promote it? I've seen it was selected in several festivals. And speaking of that, recently also I think I've read or got an email that Runway themselves, they are launching an AI festival, and they will be giving an award as well. So you think the future, if you like the narrator, your character in Shape of Things to come, that we'll have a lot of AI film festivals in the future as well.
Yeah, I one of the cool things about this whole thing is that you have people on the tech side of the of the fence who are looking to break into the cinema industry with this technology and show the value of it, and then you have people in the your typical creatives who want to hand draw everything and shoot with the 8 millimeter film and analog film and things. They're very very peculiar in their craftsmanship, and so they have their interests involved. One of the first festivals that once the thing was completed, I basically tested it with some test audiences that I thought were good representatives of each key demographic. And then once I got the feedback, I kind of felt like we were ready to go. As an artist, again, whatever you produce is never 100%. By the time you get done with it, you're thinking I could have done the trees a little better. I could have put more apples there, or I could have made the sky a little bluer or something. But the discipline is just pulling the trigger. When a project's complete, pulling the trigger, getting it out there, let it rise and fall on its own merits. And Film Freeway is the go-to source for people in the film industry. It's kind of like a LinkedIn or it's like a social media for filmmakers. So anyone who has a festival is on there, and anyone is a writer, director, producer, anything is on there as well. So I posted it and I started sending it out to festivals. The first ones I targeted were actually AI film festivals because of the nature of the achievement. I thought it was a great achievement, and I thought it checked off all the boxes pretty well. But I think because it's tech related, and because some of the themes of the film and some of the stuff that I'm kind of topics that I'm covering in there are I was supposed tech sensitive to them, or their vision, or their where they're trying to take it, or maybe they just don't want people to wig out or be afraid of the unintended consequences that I'm suggesting could happen. So they kind of they haven't been as receptive as I thought they would. I thought I would first be embraced by the tech community, but actually it was the cinema community, which was a huge honor, because they're normally kind of standoffish towards the new emerging technologies, especially AI. But they embraced me, especially here. I'm in Sacramento, so we had Sacktown Movie Buffs Film Festival, which is a great film festival that specializes like in stuff that is cutting edge, and giving filmmakers an audience. They present at IMAX, so when it was selected, it was nominated for two awards in two categories: best animated film, and then best director animated film for me. And then we had the premiere in IMAX, so it was the first AI generated film to premiere in IMAX. That came through working with the cinema people who are passionate about film, and they see the value in I'm obviously, we're in California. We just had legislation passed for it's really expensive to film in California. For people who don't know, just with all the permits and the hoops you got to jump through, people in we got Hollywood down in California, but no one films in Hollywood, so we don't have any production in Hollywood. I feel like one of the cool things about AI and the technology in general is that it can cut costs on production, so that you can still produce quality projects here in California. So there's all. I mean, it's compromises, right? Like for the tech people and for the cinema people, I feel like in any kind of relationship, it's a compromise. It's like, what are I want this, and the other party wants that, and well, I'm willing to give up some space here if you're willing to give up some space, and we can come to a mutual agreement. But I think that's going to go through. I think the technologies continue to grow. I think film people in that industry are understanding that film is a technology based business from the beginning. The whole idea of the Luminaire brothers making their machine to that project images on light, that is technology. So coming from Singularity University and that train of thought, like everything is going to change, everything is going to grow, everything's going to get better, faster, sharper, efficient. You have to do the same or you're going to get left behind. And I think maybe Hollywood has gotten comfortable in or quote unquote Hollywood, no one in particular, but I just think the industry is coming to grips with the idea that, hey, our whole thing is based off technology, and it doesn't make sense for us to be this standoffish. Let's try and, like, we got to have guardrails for sure. We got to protect artists and artist rights, and everyone should get paid for their work and things of that nature. But there's been a disruptive shift in the industry and in the civilization and in the society, and we're going to have to, we're just going to have to apply ourselves and with that in mind. And I think everyone's going to be all right with that regard, ultimately. But I think it just takes somebody to kind of just say, hey, I'll be the first one, I'll be the space monkey, shoot me out. I don't know where I'm going, I don't know what I'm doing, it's just an idea, and it's just a love for film, a love for tech, a love for, philosophy and psychology and I love the study the species, just humans as a species, from civilization to civilization, look for, patterns and that we have as a species. And, so that's kind of the way, I think that's how I see it, and how I was able to bring it forward.
Yes, Tony, when I saw the film, I sometimes when you see short films, you feel that they can be developed into a feature-length film. So I felt that Shape of Things to Come is that kind of film. Do you think if you have more resources and more opportunity to develop it into a feature-length film, you will do that?
Yeah, absolutely. That's the key goal. So again, coming up, watching lots of film, very familiar with Rocky, Sylvester Stallone's Rocky story, right? And how he basically, he had been trying to cut his teeth as an actor. Uh, he wasn't getting where he wanted to go as fast as he wanted to get there. So he took the initiative to make a project, to produce a project, and then to come up with the script for Rocky. So he wrote the script and refined it and shopped it around, and then eventually, that was his golden ticket. That was I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel here. I'm just trying to recalibrate it for, for the times, that I was in. And so the same thing, I had this idea for a story. It could very well have been a script, but I thought, again, kind of tying in with that human storytelling and then seeing the visuals to it. So the other part of that was, like, imagine a script that you could watch, right? So instead of me pitching my script to you, or pitching my script to producers or studio heads or whatnot, I could just show it to you, and then you could see who the characters are and what the story is. And, um, I kind of put it together like a pilot, like a sizzle reel for a TV show pilot. I feel like it could be developed either into a feature film trilogy. Specifically, I feel like it could be just as successful as the Star Wars franchise, or any of the other IPs that are significantly, sci-fi and futuristic out there. I think it's rich enough, and the themes and the concepts and the characters are rich enough to do that. It's original. It's not, we're not redoing a Marvel movie over here. And yeah, I think that sorry, I kind of got a little off. I lost my train of thought, but just circling the wagons. I think, I think to if I remember your question correctly, could you remind me your question that we started with?
Sure. I was asking you about do you think of
Oh yes,
developing it into a
about to get
feature?
it developed. Yeah. So
Yes.
think of it as a script that you can watch. Think about, hopefully the idea is, with these film festival credentials and accolades, having these different people see it and watch it, distributors and buyers and producers and directors and fellow creatives, and then maybe press releases, targeted ads. I don't know, but hopefully the idea is, yeah, somebody with the resources and the vision. Someone like, I have the vision, uh, but I don't have the resources to build it out. Like, this thing could be a real feature film. It could be a real animated feature film. It could be a real series for Netflix or Amazon. I would have to say, just showing my cards, that Amazon and Netflix are the two the two parties I feel like would make a good home, would make a good fit together. Just watching what they're doing already, and the, the trends that they're leading, and tracking as well. So yeah, so absolutely 100%, I would like to do that. And hopefully somebody will see that. And the cool thing too is I believe, again, going back to, we're in a new time, a new era, right? So if you want to get a film to be seen, or you want people to care about your film or your project, you have to be more proactive. So what I got the film that's going, it's going in the festivals. That's great. We're excited about that. Because of the nature of the characters, we have Autonomous, the Merciless Mech, and Tommy Timex, who are two, I feel like, relatable characters, that people can identify with, based off of like the focus group data research that I've gotten back. And so I'm merchandising them. I'm merchandising the film. I'm merchandising the characters, even though it's not even fully developed yet, right? But just the idea, there's enough there for people to get the idea of the film, decide if they want to see more, decide if they want to listen to more the music of the soundtrack, decide if they want to get some artwork from the film, some key sequences, decide that they like the Tommy Timex or Autonomous the Merciless Mech, if they like the characters. We got stickers, posters, hoodies, T-shirts, so on and so forth. All the typical IP merchandise. And I haven't announced it yet, but I've already booked Comic-Con in Sacramento, at the Roseville Gamers Expo next month in June 21st and 22nd. So we'll be, part of promoting the film is promoting it on the fandom side as well. So I'll be doing these fan expos, depending on how well, what kind of response we get with this one. I anticipate it being a really good response with the brand, and then with the brand's IP, introducing the story, the characters, letting people know in Sacramento, hey, we got the first AI film to ever premiere in IMAX. We have a new story born here in the 916. That's our area code, Sacramento area code, and it's already record setting. It's in Japan, in Tokyo Film Festival right now, for the Tokyo Liftoff Film Festival. So it's already like, it gives people, here in the community, something to be proud about, and something to keep tabs on, and say, hey, we got that film. And then it builds in an audience, right? So if, part of it is like, hey, don't just read my script, check out my script, right? And then imagine if, well, that's, yeah, no, I see it. That's great. Now, if only you had an audience already built in to it, then we'd really be somewhere. Well, let's just go on social media and see, there's already an audience built in. They're already emotionally attached to the characters and the story. They want to see how Tommy Timex became Tommy Timex, and some of the stuff that he learned at these conventions. And they want to see, what happened after, the incident. And they want to see, what's going to happen with Autonomous, and did he really mean what he said when he said this and that. And so I feel like this is the blueprint right here. This is the blueprint of how you turn a brand into an IP. You take that IP out into the market, you get your feedback, you make your adjustments, you do your 2.0, your 3.0, and then you got your merchandise. It's a living, breathing thing already. And then just scale it out, right? So the Netflix or Amazon sees it, they see what we got going on, they see the vision, they appreciate the value of what we're doing. They got the resources, and it's just a calculation for them that, hey, if this is a winning thing, if we just get behind it and scale it out with our resources, then we have a slam dunk here. So that's definitely the idea behind that.
Great, Tony. Finally, do you have an advice you like to give to young creators who want to experiment with AI and they want to tell powerful stories, but they are still on a budget?
Yeah, I mean, right now I made the whole film for about $200, just under $200, and it was just a couple
Mhm.
of subscriptions to the AI engines. The text to image engines are all free. You can get free trials enough to basically the process of making a film is just imagine it like a comic book, like you're making a comic book, right? So you have to kind of see the scenes a little bit. You don't have to see everything, but you just have to, like, conference room, you know. If you don't know what a conference room looks like, just or a good, I just Google conference room and go through Google Images and find one that you think is looks good, and then you use that as your reference, right? Or crowds of people or coffee shop or whatever you see, you have to walk people through your vision of what you see. And yeah, and then you just go, once you have your storyboard, right? Your They call them keyframes, right? And tech lingo is keyframe. So you would make your keyframe, which is just like, let's say we're doing a shot of, like, a guy goes into a coffee shop. So you got an exterior shot of the coffee shop. So you go, hey, ChatGPT, give me a shot of exterior shot of a coffee shop downtown, New York, San Francisco, Tokyo, whatever. It'll give you like a couple different variations. For me, my process is I like to have like 100 different options and then narrow it down to top 10. And out of the top 10, you're going to have two or three of them that honestly are either one would work. You know what I mean? One thing I'd tell the artists and creative people is there's more than one way to bake a cake. You know what I mean? Like, if you study how, like, everybody loves cake, everybody loves cake. They don't care if it's carrot cake, if it's chocolate cake, if it's, everybody loves cake. So if you make a cake, uh, people are gonna love it, and they're gonna eat it, and there's more than one way to bake a cake. So don't get caught up on the artistic side of saying, hey, I want to express myself in this way with this sound or this image or this sequence. Just um just say, I need to get something out from in here to out here. That's the whole trick. You get it from in here to out here, and then once you have it out here, you can play with it and adjust it and make it better and make it faster and make it sharper, make it cleaner and all that stuff. But you got to get it from inside of the cranium to outside of the cranium. And I think that's what we're living in a golden age of technology where literally you can make anything. We're coming into an interesting phenomenon where you know like, imagine, I almost want to make, like, my next, like, short film would probably be, if I was to make one, would be about a magic pencil that that could uh that could, whatever you draw would come to life, right? And so the story is not about what a guy's drawing or whatever. The story is about a guy trying to give the magic pencil to, let's say, 10 different people. Hey, I got a magic pencil. You want it? Anything you draw with it will come to life. Oh, wow, that's wild. But nobody wants to draw anything because they don't want to draw something stupid and they don't want everyone to laugh at them. You know what I mean? So instead of taking a
Yes.
risk and drawing something that even might be stupid or ugly, they'd rather just pass, and just support someone who does. And I find people, and just the hidden law of people is a 1 to 10 ratio. So, in that story, for example, I would the guy he tries 10 people, but only one of them actually takes the pencil and draws something out of it. And then that's just what I would say is don't be a perfectionist with getting your ideas out there. Get the idea out there. Once it's out you can play with it, you can adjust it, you can get some fresh eyes on it, some fresh input. You have somebody who's better at you than at the different, or maybe especially trained in an aspect of the art that maybe you're not, and can put it, and you get more energy behind it. It's gonna get a life of its own, and it's gonna have a momentum of its own. So I would just say, now's a great time. You can train yourself on YouTube. There's a million different channels, all different kinds of backgrounds and personalities. If you're dry, if you're more funny, if you're more animated, whatever, technical, or just more, free spirited. And the technology is available. They all have free demos. They all have free trials. Um, and then you know, it's really, right now we're in a peculiar space where if you have an imagination, you're literally like a goose that lays golden eggs, because now we have the capability to tell any story we want, but all of a sudden we don't know what stories we want to tell. We want to reboot 21 Jump Street another 3 times, or Spider-Man fighting Green Goblin another 4 times. these ideas, these reboots, it to me what it shows is a lack of imagination, you know. So if you have an idea, bring it forward, and you know, if it's not where you want it to be in version 1.0, you know, keep pushing, or let somebody else take a stab at it, and you got something real special on your hands, you know. And then it's really satisfying, just as a person to be able to bring something that's in this and then bring it out here. I feel like that's where the whole magic is.
Great, Tony. I want to thank you very much for this great interview, and I wish you all the best in promoting your film on film festivals and also in the upcoming Comic Con. And I hope as well when you have a new project, you come back again to talk about it with us, you know, and I look forward for your upcoming projects, either shorts or long.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you, Sharif, and thank you for the invite. Thank you for the interest in the project and in the film, and especially I really appreciate your technical knowledge, being an engineer and understanding the value of some of the stuff that we're doing, or you know, attempting to achieve and showcase and demonstrate. And yeah, I appreciate. I'll be sure to promote and on my end, and definitely keep you in the loop of everything we got moving forward. And I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you a lot, Tony. Enjoy the rest of the day and your weekend, and I look forward for great news about your work in the future.
Thank you so much. Anyone listening, you could check out an advanced preview of the film at sactownfamous.com. We got that up for a limited time. And then if you want to get any more information about me, it's tonysavo.com. We're on Instagram and LinkedIn and Facebook and all the usual suspects. So feel free to check that out, like, subscribe, download the whole nine, and keep an eye out. Thanks again. I hope everyone has a great weekend. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Tony.
Okay. Bye bye.